let's come in real close and let's see, how do we begin to discern the specific plant or plant person from the wool of green? Right? Now, if we adopt the naturalist mindset, there are 4 particular categories that we are going to be looking into. Now, when we look at it through an ancestral perspective, instead of thinking of them as categories, we can think of them as clans, right? Or as specific kinds of tribes within tribes. And when we do this and we see that there are certain people and they have certain characteristics, just like you go to different regions, if you go to the south of the US, or if you go to Egypt, right, or you go to France, there are certain kind of characteristics of those people. So the same thing is here. We're going to find out through these 4 specific categories, what are the basic clans, those primal, long-term clans that these plants might belong to. And in that, we gain insight to their characteristics and what they may be contributing to this village of other plants and landscapes, right? So what are these 4? It's very simple, actually. 1, is it woody? Does it have a kind of bark on it? 2, is it herbaceous? And by herbaceous, we mean, does it lose its flowers in the top part of the plant during the winter or dry season, right? And only flower and bring its foliage up during the summer and the wet season. That's herbaceous. 3rd, is it flowering? Right? Does it have flowers? And 4th, right, is it non-flowering, which we often call an ancient plant, right? So let's take a closer look here. All right, so if we see over here, we're going to find that there's a tree here, and this is actually a hazel tree. Now, if we were to peel this off right here, we would see that there's a bright form of green just beneath the surface of this bark, right? And so there's this protective layer of the bark, and so that means it is a woody tree. Now, not all woody plants are actually trees. There are other types of plants such as vines, or if you know the salal plant, or even like a salmonberry. These are plants that have grown to have that protective layer along the shaft of the plant, the stem. And so those are called woody plants. Now you'll find that woody plants are also what are called perennials, which we'll get into in another part of the video, okay? Now herbaceous plants, if we come down here and we look, you see all kinds of herbaceous plants down here. Look at this beauty right here. So what happens is when it's not summer or the wet season, it's dry in winter, this foliage will disappear. And only what's below the surface of the earth will remain. So that's called an herbaceous plant. Now you'll also see that this plant is also a flowering plant. And so those are part of the flowering plants. And you also know that some woody plants are also flowering, like salmonberry, dogwood trees, and so forth. Now, ancient plants are those that are non-flowering. And if you look right here, this is one of those ancient plants that do not flower. Those ancient plants include ferns, they include liverwort, horsetails, moss, and fungi, lichen, algae. All of those kind of plants are the ones that are non-flowering. So those are the 4 basic categories or clans that you may say that plants fall into. So when we're out here and we're walking and a plant catches your attention, you may begin to ask, is this a woody plant? Is it herbaceous? Is it flowering? Right? Or is it non-flowering? Is it an ancient? And in that, as we continue our journey into becoming nature-wise, right, you'll be able to discern even greater details that will give the identifications of the plants.